our mayor. John Suthers was elected the 41st mayor of Colorado Springs by an overwhelming majority on May 19, 2015. Before being elected mayor, John served as Attorney General of Colorado from 2005 to 2015, which was the second longest serving in Colorado history, which I think is admirable too and distinguishable. Prior to being Attorney General, he was named by President George W. Bush in 2001 to be United States Attorney for Colorado, and he was unanimously confirmed by the U.S. Senate. In 1999, Suthers was appointed by Governor Bill Owens as Executive Director of the Colorado Department of Corrections, based in Colorado Springs. In 1988, he was elected District Attorney of the 4th Judicial District, which includes El Paso and Teller counties. And this is something I think we can all be really proud of that he got. In December 2015, John was awarded the Colorado Governor's Citizenship Medal, the highest award given to a citizen of Colorado in recognition of his service as Attorney General and for his work as Mayor of Colorado Springs, which put it on a very positive trajectory, is what was said. A lifelong resident of Colorado Springs, John attended grade school here and graduated from St. Mary's High School, and he graduated magna cum laude from the University of Notre Dame. I know there's some other Notre Dame people.
Yeah, that's right.
And in the top quartile of his law school class at the University of Colorado. His wife, Janet, also grew up in Colorado Springs, earned her MBA from UCCS, and is retired from Agilent Technologies. She also is a lifelong community volunteer, including service on the District 12 School Board and the City Planning Commission. John and Janet have 2 accomplished daughters and 2 beautiful grandchildren. But wait, there's more. Besides all of this, we in Rotary are proud to have John as an honorary member, one of only 3 that we have asked to be honorary members. That's one thing. So John, we're proud to have you as an honorary Rotarian. And in 2016, Mayor Suthers declared April 29th as the Rotary Club of Colorado Springs Day. I have it right here. It was in our 100-year anniversary, and it was wonderful that he did this for us. So now, our good friend, our Honorable Mayor, John Suthers.
Well, thanks so much for the invitation to join you today. And I was thinking on the way over here, and I have determined that I think it was 1980 when I gave my first speech at the downtown Rotary Club. I was a Chief Deputy District Attorney in charge of the Consumer Protection Bureau. Now, I would ask all of you who were members in 1980 to stand, but I decided not to do that. You know who you were, and that you were here. But I suspect I have been back at least 20 times in the ensuing 38 years, and I'm privileged to be here again today. Thanks so much to the Rotary for all the great work that you do. Obviously, Rotary is a national force, and this club has done a lot of great things in our community. I'm proud to be an honorary member of Rotary, and I can't tell you how proud I am to be the mayor of a city with service clubs such as this one. I thought I'd give you a little bit of a State of the City speech today. It's been an incredibly eventful 2.5 years since I became the mayor of Colorado Springs. If you recall, when I ran for mayor, I said I was going to address 3 challenges. One, we needed to improve the political climate. We had a rather divisive political climate that was interfering with economic and community development. Number 2, we needed to address some long-standing infrastructure issues. I inherited, by conservative estimates, a $1 billion infrastructure deficit in terms of critical public infrastructure, particularly roads and stormwater. And finally, we needed to pick up our game in new job creation. I didn't make up these three priorities. Obviously, they were pretty evident from the first 15 years of the 21st century. We went to a strong mayor form of government in 2011. My predecessor was very dedicated to Colorado Springs, loved the city, did not have a great deal of political experience, and the clash between the council and the mayor was pretty rough for 4 years, and we weren't addressing some of the serious issues that needed to be addressed. That was the political climate. I feel pretty good about where we are. We've always had a few characters on city council. We always will have a few characters on city council, but you'll note in most of the major issues, we've been able to muster 6, 7, 8 person majorities and move the city forward. What I'm proud of is at a time when the federal government, and to some extent the state, is not addressing some of our critical issues, I think the city is taking on our important issues. I think that's something to be proud of as citizens. The second big issue that, of course, was infrastructure. How did we get to the point of having the infrastructure deficit we had? As I say, a minimum of $1 billion. Really no mystery for those of you who've lived here for a long time. It goes back to 1992. A lot of people forget that before Doug Bruce put Tabor on the state ballot, he put an issue in the 1992 city ballot to do away with the half-cent sales tax that was used for infrastructure. And in the ensuing 25 years, we were deprived of $1 billion that would have gone into roads and stormwater, bridges, and things like that. The City Council in 2004, as a result of serious flooding incidents that had gotten us in some legal issues with the Colorado Department of Health, tried to rectify some of that situation and imposed a stormwater fee in 2004. And then in 2009, Mr. Bruce led an issue 300, to do away with that stormwater fee. And that, of course, caused us in 2009 to go from $15 million a year in stormwater spending to $3 million a year average from 2009 onward through 2015. And that got us in a lot of legal problems with both our downstream neighbors, the EPA and the Colorado Health Department. So those issues needed to be addressed. In the first, between 2005 and 2015, Colorado Springs had only averaged 3,000 new jobs a year. We had not participated in the energy boom, which was a great benefit to northern Colorado. We obviously, like everybody, were seriously hurt by the Great Recession. The problem is, for a city our size, we need to generate about $5,000 jobs a year just to take care of our own, our high school graduate, our college graduates who want to live in our own community. So that was problematic. So let me report to you the progress we've made. As I indicated, I feel very good about the progress we've made in the political climate. Not only have we been able to move things along through the city council, I think our relationship with the county is good and the surrounding municipalities. I've had a very good relationship with Governor Hickenlooper. I think the fact I used to be his lawyer and know all his secrets. But he's been, he's been very supportive in terms of placing the National Cybersecurity Center here and things like that. On the infrastructure front, I just can't tell you how appreciative I am of the voters of Colorado Springs stepping up to the plate. I think the lesson to be learned is you need to be frank with voters about what the issues are. You need to explain why it's needed, what you're going to do with the money, and then even in a conservative environment like Colorado Springs, people will deal with essential government services such as roads and stormwater. By the time I became mayor, 60% of our roads were in poor condition on an objective rating scale. We now have technology. We drive over the roads with a radar system to determine the quality of the road, and 60% of our roads are rated poor. Lest you think that's unusual, we at that time had the 28th worst roads in the country. Denver and Aurora had the 22nd worst roads in the country. And by the way, it's not unusual for the worst roads in the country to be in climates similar to ours with the freezing thaw cycle and things like that. As you know, what we did, and in hindsight, I think it was really the appropriate way to tackle the problems. I convinced at my very first meeting with the City Council in June of 2015, I said, let's do some polling, ask Colorado Springs Forward, citizen advocacy group, to pay for that polling, and let's see where our citizens stand with our infrastructure problems. Not surprisingly, 80% of our citizens said they were very concerned about our roads because they drove them every day. Also not surprisingly, only 14% said they were very concerned about stormwater. And as you recall, we had just lost a regional stormwater measure in November of 2014, 6 months before. We were developing some pretty serious legal issues in stormwater, but they hadn't quite hit the headlines yet. And frankly, the public wasn't very clued in. There was a knowledgeable group of people that understood it, but the average citizen did not. So I said, let's tackle the easier one first and see if we can't build up some public credibility, and then revisit stormwater. So in November of 2015, we went to you, the citizens, with issue 2C, and you approved for 5 years a 0.62 sales tax to be used exclusively for road improvements, and that generates about $50 million a year. This year, 2017, generated $52 million. So about $250 million over 5 years. I hope you're seeing the impact. We are doing about 250 lane miles per paving season. Attention to major arterials. I just saw the 2018 list, and it's very ambitious, and I think you'll be very pleased to see major thoroughfares that are on the 2018 list. So we've made a lot of improvement there. The week that the citizens passed 2C, our stormwater issues got a lot more severe when I got served with a notice of intent to sue by Pueblo to block the southern delivery system from going online in April of 2016. So this was November of 2015. There's a long history here, but essentially the Utilities Department had gone to Pueblo in 2008 seeking what's called a 1041 permit, their permission to build this massive water delivery system, the southern delivery system, to pump water out of Pueblo Reservoir across Pueblo County up to Colorado Springs to supply as much as 55 million gallons of water. The water rights were procured by our forebears here in Colorado Springs with incredible foresight many years ago. And we had to have Pueblo's permission to build this system across the county. In 2008, we had the stormwater fee in place, an enterprise with generating about $15 million in stormwater infrastructure expenditures. And we promised in our 1041 permit that we would maintain the viable stormwater system that we had. As I said, the voters did away with that fee in 2009, and Pueblo's contention, you were in violation of the 1041 permit. You have not maintained the level of spending. In fact, you've gone down to $3 million a year from 15, and you're in violation of the 1041 permit, and we're going to block you from turning on the southern delivery system in April of 2016. That was an $825 million investment by you, the Colorado Springs utility ratepayers. Frankly, all the legal advice we got and my impressions as a lawyer, Pueblo had a pretty good case. So we got to scrambling, and over the next several months, Pueblo's contention was, we just want you to spend what you were spending in 2008 when you did this permit. So we figured out what that would have meant over the next 20 years, and it was $400 million by the city of Colorado Springs and $60 million by utilities. We entered into an intergovernmental agreement committing to spend that amount, and we were able to turn on the southern delivery system on April 16th, 2016, and has the capability of delivering and providing for water for the next, at minimum, 50 years of growth of Colorado Springs. The problem, well, there's two problems. Number one, no sooner had we done that than we got sued by the EPA and the Colorado Department of Health for another stormwater-related violation called an MS4 permit that has to do with water quality. Any city in America over 100,000 people has to show that they are cleaning water up as much as they can before they put it in the interstate river system. And of course, anything that we put into Fountain Creek goes into the Arkansas River, goes into the Mississippi, goes into the Gulf of Mexico. And because of the deficient spending from 2009 onward, the EPA and the Department of Health were maintaining we hadn't modernized our stormwater infrastructure. We had a bunch of cement channels running it to the creek as soon as possible. We didn't do enough detention and retention. If you notice, most new developments today have detention and retention ponds that clean it up, let it soak in, and monitor the pace at which it goes into the water system. And so they sued us. Our attempts to settle that have not worked, and we're still in federal court with them. So we were obliged to come up with at least $20 million a year in stormwater spending. The problem is we were the only major city in the United States that did not have a stormwater fee, a dedicated revenue stream, so we were going to have to pay it out of a general fund. And the problem there, that's where you pay for your cops and your firefighters and other central government services. The police chief gave a presentation about last year indicating, objectively speaking, we're at least 120 officers short. We have 14 officers per 10,000 people on the street. The average for a city our size is 18. Aurora, smaller than us, has, I think, about 19. Denver has about 22. And it's impacted us because it has caused a gradual but pretty serious deterioration in our response times. Ideally, we want to be able to respond to any critical incident, and I'm not talking about cats in a tree. I'm talking about people getting shot. I'm talking about burglaries in progress, robberies in progress, in an average of 8 minutes. We had deteriorated to the point we were right around 12 minutes. The police departments ameliorated that a little bit by taking people out of special assignments like gang units and things like that and putting them into patrol. But we had a serious staffing issue. But we couldn't, 120 cops is $12 million bucks. We could not, as long as we had these legal obligations on stormwater, we could not muster that. So in 2015, I convinced the council, let's go back and re-poll and see where the voters are on stormwater. Some interesting things that happened. I think as a result of being sued and reading about it in the paper every day, a lot higher percentage of the citizens understood the issue. 74% said they understood that stormwater was an issue. I think more importantly, 66% had a high level of confidence in city government. My personal opinion, that had a lot to do with 2C. And in the final analysis, for the first time ever, a majority of citizens said they'd vote for stormwater, to reinstate a stormwater fee, 54%. There was a debate between the council and myself whether to go in November of 2017, or wait till 2018. Because of what I think is going to be on the ballot in 2018, and be pretty crowded, I was able to convince them to go in 2017. The polling proved amazingly accurate, and the stormwater fee won by 54-46. And so we have, to a large degree, corrected and will correct over the next 20 years this major infrastructure deficit that we had dug for ourselves. Now let me turn to the whole issue of economic development and job creation. I sometimes have to pinch myself when I think how that situation has improved in the last 2.5 years. In the last 2.5 years, we have averaged 8,000, an average of 8,000 jobs a year. I told you we had averaged 3,000 in the 10 years before. We need 5,000 to break even. We're on a pace this, it looks like, 2015, 2016, 2018, we're going to be in about 8,000 jobs a year. And lest you think that these are not good jobs, let me correct you. We have 12,000 job openings in Colorado Springs right now, maybe 11,500 checked. Of the average wage, the median wage of a job posting in Colorado Springs right now is $70,500. It's the first time ever it's been over 70,000. It is about $2,500 higher than the Denver metro area. Where are these jobs? Where should you get your grandkids to start direction? Tell them to be nurses. We have 1,200 registered nurse openings in Colorado Springs right now, and that, folks, is before the major expansions of University of Colorado Health, Penrose, St. Francis come online, and an entire new hospital, Children's Hospital. We have 750 systems engineer job openings. We have 750 software engineer job openings. We have job openings in cybersecurity, healthcare. If you can imagine right now, other than just nurses, if you can imagine right now we have over $1 billion of healthcare infrastructure coming out of the ground in Colorado Springs. Our sports industry is now $420 million a year job economy. 420 million a year, and I'll elaborate on that in a moment. Aerospace, I mentioned cyber, lots of things going quite well. Real estate, it's great if you own property, not so good if you're seeking to buy property. For you homeowners out there, after very slow appreciation for the first 15 years of the decade, the last 2 years, the average house in Colorado Springs has appreciated 19%. Last year alone, 2017, it was up 10.8%. That was higher than Denver or Boulder. I think it was the 13th highest in the country. Now the good news is we're coming from a lower place, so we're still relatively affordable in contrast to the Denver metro area. But our city GDP is actually growing faster in Boulder and Denver the last 2 years for the first time since the 1990s. I hope you've noticed a lot of development taking place downtown. Residential development, 2 very large apartment complexes going up, a lot of smaller ones. I think we'll see as many as 1,000 new units in downtown Colorado Springs in the next couple of years. Obviously, the Olympic Museum is underway, going to be complete in the summer of 2019. That is going to, I think, bring a lot of momentum to redevelopment of Southwest downtown. I think you can see motels. I think you can see a major motel construction right next to the museum. You see a 10-story one going up right now. I guess that's Bijou and Cascade. And you'll see other hotel motels in the downtown area as well as throughout the city. The airport is doing well. We made some good decisions several years ago when we created a commercial aeronautic zone around the airport, giving some tax incentives to any aeronautics related business that moves in out there in the general aviation area. As a result of new jobs created there and new tenants, companies moving into that commercial aeronautic zone, we've upped the amount of revenue that's coming into the airport, and that's significant because that allows us to reduce the fees that we charge the commercial airlines. The airport is an enterprise, no taxpayer money in it. And we have to charge the commercial airlines everything we're not making on the general aviation side of it. And we've gone from $13.50 a seat in fees to something in the area of $6.23 in the last several years. That's what's brought Frontier Airlines back to town. That's what's helped spur expansions of American Airlines offerings and things like that. So we, we peaked, for those of you who've been around a long time, we peaked in 1997 when we were the home of Westpac at 2 million enplanements a year, and we were on a gradual decline, bottomed out in 2015 at 600,000. This year we're at 870,000. I think next year we'll go over 1 million. So we're definitely going the right direction. I got to caution you folks, these guys are in the profit-making business. This is a use it or lose it business, so when you hear about all these new destinations, if you continue to drive to Denver, they're not going to hang around very long. We have got to use these flights. So far, so good. The average passenger load's been about 86%, which is pretty healthy. The load to Phoenix and Las Vegas is among the healthiest in the country. So look before you book and fly COS whenever possible. I talked a little bit about our sports economy. We embarked as a result of, it's interesting, we had negotiated with the U.S. Olympic Committee many years ago the right to call ourselves, at the time it was America's Olympic City, but we hadn't used it for some reason or another. And when I came in and realized that we had that capability, to me it's a perfect brand. When you're looking for a brand, you want something unique. This is unique because nobody else in the world can use it. You got to have legal permission to use it. And it has to be a very identifiable brand. And one of the most popular identifiable brands in the world is the Olympics. And this is really an evolution that took place over 40 years. The U.S. Olympic Committee moved here from a stunning move at the time in 1978, picked up stakes in New York City and moved to Colorado Springs. Then came the largest Olympic training center. 16,000 elite athletes go through our training center every year from all over the world. Then came 23 national governing bodies, USA Cycling, USA Swimming, USA Basketball, USA Hockey, you name it. And then that brought in 50 peripheral sports organizations, rodeo. Last year we landed the International Cricket Association. Don't ask me why, but we did. And so here we are, with, in my opinion, perfectly entitled. By the way, USOC came back to us and said, you can't use America's Olympic City because there's a North America and a Central America. Would you please be Olympic City, USA? And we said, we'll do it. And the brand, I just got an email. You know you're getting some penetration. I got an email the other day from the president of American Airlines. I had thanked him for expanding some routes to Chicago, and he ended his email by saying, anything we can do for Olympic City, USA. So it really is. You can see it in the national advertising and all that sort of thing. And it has become, in terms of, we're talking about 4,000 jobs, and the events that are coming here, sports-related events, we're talking $240 million a year. I'm going to stop and take questions. Two big issues for 2018 are a couple of things. Folks, we need to approve an amended annexation agreement for the Banning Lewis Ranch. This was annexed in 1988. The developer at the time was a guy named Frank Aries. Last seen in Belize on 60 Minutes, bragging about how he stiffed the banks. And he entered into an annexation agreement, which in hindsight, he had no intention of actually developing. He said he was going to have 250,000 people out there. He had a 6-lane thoroughfare, all that kind of stuff. He had the whole thing hard zoned. No developer that has subsequently bought the property has been able to adequately economically develop it. We can come up with an annexation agreement which makes the developers pay for the infrastructure, but rational infrastructure. We're only going to, at total build out, it'll probably be 180,000. We're going to do it in 30-year segments, and the first one's 60,000 people. We'll make the developers pay for it. We'll have a very good quality of life, including mixed commercial and residential. The city's estimate is we've lost about $40 billion of economic development since 1988 by not developing it. How do we know that? Because the development leapfrogged us and is now in Falcon and headed to Calhoun. So we haven't stopped urban sprawl. Banning Lewis Ranch has become an infill project, a very large one, but an infill project. We need to do this. We only have 6,000 other undeveloped acres left in City of Colorado Springs, which is probably 6 or 7 years of development. So it needs to be done. The other thing I am very optimistic about, when we pursue new companies, they all have, code names, Project Renaissance, Project, because they don't want to know who's trying to buy real estate, things like that. And I understand that. But I can tell you we're working on 4 projects that if any 2 of them come to fruition this year, it's going to be an incredibly good economic development year for Colorado Springs, and 3 of the 4 are manufacturing and good, high-paying quality manufacturing. So I'm very excited. If you haven't sensed it, Colorado Springs is booming. The world is noticing. We're on everybody's best of lists, and it's a great time to be in Colorado Springs. Let me stop there and take a couple minutes of questions. Jack, Greg.
Thank you very much, Mayor, for coming and enlightening us. This has been terrific. Question on the annexation. The developers are going to pay for the infrastructure. How about the maintenance, the ongoing services? How is that going to impact our city budget?
Well, as you know, Greg, and this is a very, very complicated issue, but as a result of the interface of Gallagher and Tabor, Colorado is always going to have very low property taxes, and in El Paso County in particular. The voters are not, I can tell you every poll I've ever seen, people are not going to raise their property taxes. The result is most cities have about 50% sales tax, 50% property tax, so residential development helps pay for itself. That's not our case here because property tax is only, I think this year is going to be 7% of our general fund budget. So residential neighborhoods generally would not pay for themselves instead of services. So since about the late 80s, there's usually a special district associated with these neighborhoods where the owners themselves will take on, as part of an assessment against them, the ongoing maintenance of the roads that are built and the parks that are built in their districts and things like that. So it's provided for. We think our police and fire fees are very adequate to build at least 1 new substation and up to 5 fire stations. So yeah, I mean it's in the calculation, and we're very confident that it will pay for itself. But it is tricky because of our very, very low property tax base. You've got to have commercial. I'd die to have that. One of the busiest Walmarts in Colorado is now in Falcon because we did not develop Banning Lewis Ranch.
Mayor, one of the biggest concerns about Banning Lewis is water. And you're a very thoughtful guy and you tend to think of detail. Help me understand how we'll have water with 180,000 new houses out there.
The Southern delivery system will take us to 1.2 million with our existing water delivery capabilities. We have some untapped water rights that will, if we're to go beyond that, we'll have to kick in. But we now, in fact, I don't know if you read the article in the paper the other day, for many years until Banning Lewis Ranch develops out, we will be selling water to the special districts. We have the water. Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, thank you for your leadership. We really appreciate it. And great job report. We understand that it's highly likely that council will put on the ballot a proposal that will allow legalize recreational marijuana in the city of Colorado Springs. What impact do you see that having on the potential for new jobs?
Well, I think it remains to be seen. Right now, the marijuana industry wants the ballot proposal that they'd like the council to put on to convert every medical marijuana to a recreational. That would give us 130 recreational marijuana. I don't think even I don't think there's a majority of the council that's willing to do that. So I think they may try and petition on. I will vehemently oppose it. And let me just explain. Now, I've been dealing with the drug issues in Colorado for a long time. I think from a public policy standpoint, we are in a very perilous situation. In this country, we've got record opioid deaths, and I just saw a stat sheet that the Colorado Department of Health put out about how much more likely you are to be an adult drug abuser the earlier you start smoking marijuana. In Colorado today, and the industry can tell you everything they want to, the bottom line is we have the highest rate of adolescent marijuana use between 12 and 17. We're 58% above the national average. These kids, we are creating generations of addicted personalities. And I'm very concerned about it. From the employment standpoint, I think we've got a couple of unique things. I think it's totally contradictory. First of all, keep in mind what we're talking about with recreational marijuana. We're talking about let's get high for fun. You know, the message isn't even drink responsibly. It's let's get high for fun. That's what recreational marijuana is all about. So, on one hand, we've got 5 critical military installations. When I visit the Pentagon will never weigh in on a political issue, but they'll look you straight in the eye, and I do it every September. I spend a day with the Army, a day with the Air Force. This would not be in the best interest of future military expansion in El Paso County to embrace recreational marijuana. The other thing is, we are now building an identity as an outstanding sports recreation community, you know, embracing the Olympic values of excellent friendship, respect, you know, the health thing. I find that totally contradictory. So many of our employers have federal contracts. The vast majority of federal contracts are zero tolerance, drug tested contracts. One of the employers gave me all their statistics recently, and they've got a federal contract. And here's the process they go through. They first of all, when someone applies, they do a criminal background check. They take those folks out. Then they do then they do a written test. Take those folks out. Then they do a personal interview. Take those folks out, and then only then do they do the drug test. And 25% of the applicants are failing the drug test. 95% of the failures are THC. We're going to release a report next week on a survey done of our homeless population and our panhandlers. And you will not be surprised, we are almost 100% marijuana users, and a large percent of them say they came to Colorado for marijuana access. So I don't think it's in our community's interest to embrace that. Paul, I don't know, I'm trying to discourage the council, and I think with the industries, they can't seem to get their act together to go forward with 5 places or 10 places, and if they're trying to convert, and let me tell you why. It's very apparent to me, we finally got around, when I became mayor, to imposing a moratorium on medical. So that was frozen at 130, and they're starting to slowly. But a lot of them are hanging on. They're not doing well financially. They're hanging on, waiting for recreational. I think if we defeat recreational, the number of medical will significantly decrease. But we'll see where the voters are on that. Can I take one more?
Yeah.
Okay, Dick.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Can you give us a little bit of an update on the state of the utility department and the power plant?
Well, you guys can evaluate your utility department. I think I am all in favor of a locally owned, city-run utility company. I think taking shareholder value out of the equation should result in lower rates. I have personally expressed a preference for a separately appointed board of utility experts to be the board, or with expertise, as opposed to the city council. That's gone nowhere. I don't have any control. When they created the strong mayor, they did not give the mayor control over utilities, so it's still run by the city council. I don't think they're going to give up that power, and only the voters could take it away from them, and it hasn't gotten much traction yet. I think it's a well-run utility. Drake is going to be closed. As it sits right now, it will be closed by 2035. I think that will be accelerated. Jerry Forte tells me he thinks it can be done without a major hike in rates in the 2025 to 2027 range. If you go any earlier than that, you're looking at a significant hike in rates. You know, you can argue about everything you want, but the bottom line is the world's converting to more renewables. You're going to see less coal. One of the problems before was the volatility of natural gas. With the amount of natural gas that's now being produced with fracking and things like that, that market is much more stable, and we can accomplish cleaner facilities. And I think my estimate is that Drake, the generation portion of it will be gone by 2030, but there still will be a transmission facility there, but it will free up a lot of land around it. Exactly how much mitigation work would have to go into it, I'm not sure. Thanks so much for